Make better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch is brought to you by Nedbank.
All right, it's 2 p.m. Central African time. A very good afternoon and welcome to Nedbank Business Watch. It is a Wednesday afternoon anyway, and we hope that you're having yourself a good day. On the program today, we are looking at Eswatini, standing at the intersection of opportunity and uncertainty. On one hand, in a moment of national significance as the kingdom marks His Majesty's 40 years on the throne, and with the presence of Her Royal Highness Princess Sikhanyiso, a bold new economic platform has emerged, the Real Signature Expo, positioned as a gateway into the global premium economy, bringing together high-value brands, investors, as well as decision makers, as well as signaling a shift in how the Kingdom of Eswatini wants to compete on the world stage. But beyond that prestige, can Eswatini businesses truly rise to that level? And what real opportunities will this unlock? This was launched by Her Royal Highness Princess Sikhanyiso, and we're going to speak to Sibusiso Mnisi from Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority. And then, of course, a global crisis with very local consequences. The Middle East conflict is shaking a lot of markets. It is pushing fuel prices higher in South Africa. We have seen the fuel prices hike in South Africa, as well as Eswatini is expected to follow per usual. Warnings from Willard Mwemba of the COMESA Competition and Consumer Commission now point to rising farm input costs across the region. What does that mean for our farmers, our food production, and ultimately the price on your plate? We're going to speak to the Principal Secretary under the Ministry of Agriculture, Sydney Simelane, to make you understand more on that development.
Good afternoon once again. Thank you for tuning in. A personal loan is an easy and affordable way to better your life. Think about the good that a loan can do for you and your family. Today we take you back to a conversation we had with Bagcinile Simelane, who's a personal banking manager at Nedbank Eswatini, on how to apply for a loan and its repayment agreements. Do stay tuned for this interview. But for now, let's quickly go off an ad break and we come back with our business news.
Digital helps you make cross-border payments. Human gives you global specialists. Digital allows you to apply for a loan anytime, anywhere. Human connects you to credit experts. Digital puts you in control of your money, while Human connects you to wealth advisors. Digital allows you to freeze, unfreeze, cancel, and reorder your card. Human gives you that personal touch. Digital when you want it. Human when you need it. Get the complete private banking experience with Nedbank Private Clients.
Welcome back. This is Nedbank Business Watch. Thank you for tuning in. And for now, our business news.
The story that is making headlines right now, Her Royal Highness Nkosatana Sikhanyiso has launched the Real Signature Expo 2026, as well as the Signature Raffle Draw. This global prestige National Mastery Expo will be held as part of the national commemoration of 40 years of His Majesty King Mswati III's leadership, and it will convene ultra-premium global brands, leading African enterprises, as well as select national exemplars of excellence, running from the 25th to the 27th of this month. The Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority says the expo, which will be held at the ICC, is a big tribute to His Majesty's legacy, a milestone in modernity, and a signal of African prestige and a showcase of contemporary excellence. Let's listen to the report.
The Royal Signature Raffle is more than an offering of luxury. It is a symbol of inclusive prestige and shared national purpose. As His Majesty announced that this initiative brings together a curated portfolio of 5 ultra-premium prizes collectively valued at 50 million emalangeni, including the Rolls-Royce Ghost, the Aston Martin, the Lamborghini Urus, the Mercedes Maybach, as well as a high-end collection of jewelry. Therefore, Mr. Dangote, Mr. Gates, and all your loved ones, please feel free to throw your coins this way. Mr. Elon Musk, if you wish to throw in a Tesla into it, we shan't deprive you. We are simply planting trees under whose shade we might never sit. And you might think, what's the point of investing? But for a ticket valued only at 200,000 emalangeni, one stands the chance to win a prize valued at 10 million emalangeni. Beyond these assets lies a greater purpose, as His Majesty has so powerfully affirmed that even if one does not win, there is pride in knowing that you have contributed towards the completion of a national landmark in the International Convention Center project for the benefit of all eMaSwati. Think about the employment, the tourism, and all the benefits that the kingdom stands to thrive off of, including the milestone that His Majesty just achieved at the Equatorial Guinea, whereby we are expecting 106 countries to flood into the country next month.
The Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honorable Manqoba Khumalo, says the Royal Signature Expo has been deliberately developed as a national platform of distinction, bringing together a curated selection of premium global, regional and local brands within a single high-value environment. He also states that the Royal Signature Premium Raffle Draw will help raise approximately 200 million emalangeni for the completion of the ICC Hotel in Eswatini, boosting economic growth.
This innovative initiative provides a mechanism through which broader economic participation will be enabled. I've outlined the objectives of the raffle draw, and the key objective is to ensure that we raise 200 million emalangeni that will be directed fully towards the completion of the 5-star hotel next to our ICC. Ladies and gentlemen, the success of the Royal Signature Platform will depend not only on its concept, but on the quality of the participation, the strength of the partnership, as well as the ownership by eMaSwati to this noble initiative as commissioned by His Majesty on Monday last week. We therefore call upon every Liswati, as I've said, and every industry player, every business, and every entrepreneur, and every strategic partner to the kingdom who believes and shares His Majesty's vision to be an integral part of this particular initiative, not only as participants, but also as contributors to the growth that this country wants to see. This expo presents a very clear step in how we position Eswatini within the region and, yes, indeed, within the globe. It signals a shift towards greater intentionality, higher value engagement, as well as global integration. As we move towards its full implementation over a 3-day period, 25th of April, 26th, and the 27th, we do so with absolute clarity, with dedicated purpose and confidence. Let this Royal Signature Expo and the Royal Signature Mega Raffle serve not only as a showcase, but as a catalyst for economic development in Eswatini.
Businesses are being urged to think beyond borders and embrace new opportunities for growth. At the Eswatini Standards Authority seminar on importance of standards held at the Royal Villas in Eswatini, the Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Mangoba Khumalo, delivered a clear message that standards compliance is not a hurdle, but a powerful gateway to growth, competitiveness, as well as access to global markets such as the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Recent legislation such as the Citizens Economic Empowerment Act seek to enhance and support our MSMEs to grow to this level of export. Standards and quality compliance, therefore, act as a critical gatekeeper, enabling Eswatini businesses to penetrate and sustain access to lucrative export markets such as the AfCFTA, as I've mentioned. Non-compliance leads to product rejections, it leads to delays and banning of exports from a country, and ultimately closes businesses. Adopting Eswatini's quality standards and certification is therefore vital for Eswatini's businesses to gain credibility, to access global markets, and to drive sustainable growth. I want to urge, therefore, all businesses that quality standards are no longer an option, but they are basically compulsory for you to do sustainable business.
All right, and that's it for our business news. Thank you for staying with us. It's 11 minutes after 2.
We speak to Sibusiso Mnisi from Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority after the break, as we reported earlier about the launch that was done by Her Royal Highness Princess Sikhanyiso about this very royal and prestigious expo that is coming here at home in Eswatini. Oh, welcome back. As we reported in our first story, Her Royal Highness Nkosatana Princess Sikhanyiso has officially launched the Royal Signature Expo 2026, as well as the Signature Raffle Draw, a global prestige, nationally renowned expo that will be held as part of the national commemoration of 40 years of His Majesty King Mswati III's leadership. We're now joined by the Executive Manager of External Trade Promotion at the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, Sibusiso Mnisi, who's going to help us unpack the details of this expo, as well as to highlight the significance for the national economic growth of Eswatini. Thank you for your time, Mr. Mnisi. I really appreciate having you on the program. At its core, this expo, what message is it sending out there, and also what is it trying to achieve for the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority's trade agenda?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, and thank you for having me in your program. As you indicated, today we launched the Royal Signature Expo, which, as you're saying, it's an event that really we are trying to bring global brands, to match our national mastery brands that we also have as a country, that we think, we can be able to elevate, through them being exhibited, alongside, the global high premium brands that we're targeting. So today, really, we witnessed, that event where we are elevating the exhibitions, making it different from the one that really we've been doing, like EITF, in a sense that we are being selective, and our being selective is focusing on ultra premium sectors and focusing on ultra premium brands. So really what we are seeing here as a benefit is that when you bring these brands from around the world to Eswatini, that is going to also enhance, and make people to realize that the way in which we are positioning ourselves is now to focus, on such areas. And we think the Royal Signature Expo will indeed also bring what we call a premiumization of the local brands. As I said, that when you bring in these international players and you match them with your local brands that you have also selected, you will be able to elevate them. So we're looking forward to it.
I mean, you do mention, and I suppose you're hinting on the strategic positioning of, this particular expo, and you're saying this one is different from the traditional broad-based expos that we've heard previously here at home. And in the words of the princess, this one is a curated platform, but it is also very premium. What would you say really informed this shift away from the traditional broad-based trade exhibitions?
Yeah, the first one, of course, will be the fact that you probably had the minister when launching this, and Her Royal Highness, that we have one of the most beautiful landmarks in terms of the ICC that we have, government has built. And really, so to try and match and align with the standards of the ICC, it becomes then very important that you also shift, you move from the normal, exhibitions that perhaps we host at Mavuso. Mavuso is able to take, mass exhibitions, mass visitors coming in, and then also having, stands that are being built and designed and curated in different ways. But for this expo, for instance, we don't want the exhibition to overshadow, the beauty of the ICC. So we want it to align. So that's one of the reasons. But then of course, we have been focusing on mass exhibitions that are bringing in mass exhibitors and mass, visitors, and also bringing in the element of selling. But here we are just saying, this is just networking, B2B engagement, and perhaps a less of I was there and I was able to buy or to sell, to come and make deals, and also most importantly, to try and attract people from the region that are in that category to also be part of it, because we know that we have people that fall in this category, that can be interested to come and be part of this event.
Yeah, let's talk about the target audience, because I can already imagine the excitement. People love premium things, but premium things also don't come cheap. And certainly I can imagine just even the access there shouldn't necessarily be cheap, but still accessible, right? Who exactly is this expo built for? Are we talking global luxury brands, regional investors, or high net worth decision makers?
Yeah, I think you said it correctly, because even globally, because when you look at the sectors that you can target when you're using an exhibition, for instance, you can talk about telecommunications, you can talk about financial expos that are focusing on the financial sector. But here, what we're saying is we've been very selective, even globally, to look at, the ultra premium, sectors. So we are looking at high-end brands in automotive. I was just amazed to learn that we will be showcasing cars like the Aston Martin Vantage, the Rolls-Royce. So you can see that we are not just targeting, any sector, globally, but we are being specific in terms of who we want. We'll be having premium lifestyle and fashion. a showcase, having international artists, or maybe companies like Karen Bauer who are into luxury handbags, and we're launching one of the local artists there by Mbongiseni Fabutse, who is in fine art. And what we are saying is, these are the people that we are targeting. And then you, as a visitor, we are also saying high net individuals are also those that we are focusing on, because, as you rightly put it, people are into this thing of going for premium events, and some people are willing to spend, for that. So really, for us, from a visitor perspective, we think it's going to be locals, but then, of course, we are also targeting countries like South Africa. Already invitations are coming in, Asia, and as we said, USA people that will be coming in, so that, we are also able to network, as a Eswatini, those that will participate, with this type of visitors.
One thing that I feel like we both agree on is that, and in your words, people love premium experiences. And you do say this one will not be particularly cheap. In fact, you use the word, this may be expensive. How much are we talking about for access for the local person who's really interested in being a part of this experience? I know some young people are just, eager to see the Rolls-Royce Ghost and the Lamborghini Urus in person. But also, in terms of the local participants and the local business readiness, what criteria have you used to select local participants, and what number do you have there, just briefly?
Yeah, we're very selective in terms of the exhibitors. We're very, very selective, again, because the sectors that we are looking at, as I was saying, that we are looking at your fine art, we are looking at premium lifestyle and fashion, fine dining. As I was saying, we're bringing one of the finest whiskeys coming from Taiwan, not even sold in Africa. So they will be bringing it to Eswatini. It's called Kavalan. So really, our focus locally was to look at the high end, products like your spotted horse, because we see that while this is rum, and we see that it can be elevated, and looking at our famous baskets that we produce from Gone Rural, and also products from Swati Secrets, that are made, that we think when you match them with these global brands, they can be elevated, as we said. So really, that is the focus for us. And in terms of the entrance for visitors, we are saying entry is there for everyone, but it needs to be controlled, because once again, you don't want to have a lot of people. You want to to be selective, have people that will have an impact, high decision makers, like you see, or when you engage with them, the deal is made there and there on the spot. So I must say that the 400 Temalangeni is our maximum, but also we are going to have restrictions in terms of maybe age, because again, we are saying this is a B2B. So really, in terms of someone who is outside of business, you may find that we have a bit of restrictions there. Maybe those that are below the working age, you find that maybe we tend to restrict. But the whole idea is to just ensure that there is that engagement, at a high level, that premium experience. People must leave there knowing that I've engaged with this brand from Taiwan, this brand from the USA, and then take that story with them, and then we see what happens as we exit the event.
Mr. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate your insights, and fair enough on the restrictions there. I think you justify that quite beautifully, Mr. Nisi, from the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority. And that is it, our conversation. Then we have the Principal Secretary from the Ministry of Agriculture after the break, and we'll look into how the global conflict is threatening local food security and markets. Stay with us.
Abula basebuhlungwini abakhohlwe mtotonke le tindlu temhlaba.
Those that are in pain must forget all the problems
Ngoba
they
kuthi
have.
answer la kule tindlu temhlaba.
Because the things of the earth have got no answer.
Answer la ikhona khona.
But the answer that we have
Ikulona losetule
is
emazulwini.
all morning.
Nangishumayela nini ngisuke ngishumayela kwananami.
When I'm preaching here, I'm preaching to
I
myself.
receive umoya longcwele.
I receive the Holy Spirit.
I declare ukuthi a turnaround is coming my way.
Memetela ukuthi a turnaround is coming in my life.
Welcome back. The Middle East crisis has plunged many countries and markets into turmoil. Petrol prices have spiked in South Africa, and Eswatini is expected to follow suit. The COMESA Competition and Consumer Commission's Chief Executive, Dr. Willard Mwemba, warned that the conflict will have widespread ripple effects, and those include significant increases in the cost of farm inputs across the region. We now turn to the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Sydney Simelane, to discuss what local farmers should expect and how these developments may impact local food production as well as national food security. A very good afternoon. Thank you so much, Mgudi, for making time. We always appreciate speaking to you. Maybe setting the stakes. We are seeing the conversation around fuel prices. It is a reality in South Africa. It's still a conversation here at home. But also warnings now of higher farm input costs across the region. From your vantage point, just how serious is this moment for Eswatini's agricultural sector?
Thank you so much, Mguni, for this opportunity to address Maswati on what is likely to happen as a result of the US-Iran war. I just want to start by saying that there is definitely going to be a huge impact, especially because the Strait of Hormuz has been shut down. That will have a lot of impact in our agriculture. The first thing that we will observe is that there will be soaring fertilizer prices because most of our fertilizer comes from South Africa, which South Africa imports from a number of countries, including Saudi Arabia, China, and a few others. But we want to specify that around 30 to 40% of these fertilizers come through the Strait of Hormuz. So we will definitely be affected by this. Fertilizers are of a very heavy nature, so the best way to transport them would be through ships. And once this Strait of Hormuz is shut down, then definitely we will have problems with that. I just want to highlight that the impact will be caused by that. There will be a shortage of supply. There will be a price shock. Emaswati will realize that very soon the price of fertilizer will go up. This is very sad because as a result of that, we will have reduced fertilizer applications in our crops. Farmers will tend to say they are saving and use less fertilizers. And as a result, the impact will be that the yield will be far too low compared to what they would have got if they used the right amount of fertilizers. So that is one big problem we will face. And then this obviously will be then a threat to food security as well. We are at a stage as, for instance, Minister of Agriculture, where we are not looking at food security, but we are looking at food sovereignty. which simply means that we want to be able to produce everything for every food that we consume from the country. Now, this is definitely hampering the efforts of the ministry because there will be shortage of fertilizers, and if they are available, the prices will escalate to a level whereby farmers will not be able to afford them. Having said that, this will also create a situation that will tighten profit margins for our farmers. Once that happens, farmers will feel squeezed. They may decide that they are not doing farming anymore, and that will further impact on the food sovereignty that we are talking about. Some other important aspects would be that, for instance, the economy will suffer. If you are aware, as we speak right now, the agriculture industry or sector contributes 7% to our GDP. If agriculture is affected, then definitely the economy will be affected. The food prices will shoot up, and that will increase inflation, and as well as high fuel and transport costs. Those you cannot separate from agriculture because agriculture consumes lots and lots of fuels. And then again, I want to say that 70% of Eswatini rely on agriculture. Subsistence farming is very, very common in the country. People eat what they grow, even though it is not at a commercial scale. Now, those are problems that will be faced by the country as a result of this challenge.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's quite concerning and very frustrating. You mentioned specifically fertilizer as a specific input that is going to be, of course, affected the most. What about the others? There's, fuel, there's seeds, there's transport as well, which are all part of the value chain there. Are they exempt from this whole situation? But also, I do want to ask, because I'm picking up from your language that you're saying farmers will, as if it's something that's approaching. Is that the case? Are we already seeing early signs of that strain locally, or it's an impact that is still approaching, Mnguni?
Thank you, Mnguni. It is an impact that is still approaching. It's a situation that we will face shortly in the country. As you can see right now, especially in Babane, vehicles are queuing in filling stations trying to get fuel. This is just a spillover of maybe the real shock that is still to come. But we are quite clear that the situation will worsen as long as if we have no easy access to the fertilizers that we use to obtain from the countries that I've mentioned earlier on. Fuel is definitely a key component in agriculture. We run tractors, we run heavy plant equipment to clear up bushes and forests. There's a lot that we do with fuel. Even some machinery that we use, such as for milling purposes, they use fuel. And that is a big problem for us as a Minister of Agriculture. We are really hoping that at some point in time, there will be a relief because we are looking at alternatives as well. That if this situation persists in the Middle East, what are we going to do in order to save the lives of Eswatini and to make sure that they are still able to provide themselves with food? So it is a hard-hitting reality, especially the fertilizers that are based on nitrogen. Those ones are a big challenge for us, and those are the common ones. I want to say that with the impact of climate change, we are somehow forced in a corner to make sure that we use efficient agricultural processes to produce food. And as a result, we were hoping that we will be able to improve our fertilizers, improve our seeds, so that they catch up with the climate change-induced conditions. But otherwise, we are concerned for the farmers. We will be reporting this to Cabinet as well, just to make sure that government is fully aware of the challenges that we are likely to face. This is a concern for the coming planting season. So around September, October, the impact will be felt, and as a matter of fact, some people may decide not to plant or grow crops at all.
Mguni, I mean, I think you've been frank on the very fact that no one is exempt here. The smallholder farmer is going to feel the shock. The commercial farmer is going to feel the shock. Even subsistence farming is feeling this shock if nothing really happens. But I think the most comforting thing is that you are saying you are looking at solutions as government. Just take us through, what kind of solutions those are. Are they coming in the form of subsidies? Are they coming in the form of input support or strategic reserves? Just briefly.
Thank you. It's a very difficult situation because if you're looking at it from the point of view of subsidies, they require resources. And at this point in time, we have just finished our budgets. Funds have been allocated, and as a matter of fact, we understand that the ministry's budget has been actually cut down because of non-availability of resources, which we understand as a ministry. Now that such situations occur, it really becomes a problem for the country. But the alternative solutions that one was referring to would include things like sourcing fertilizers from different parts of the world. The difficulty with that is there has to be specific arrangements before you can actually start buying. These arrangements include the testing of the fertilizers to make sure that it will be suitable for our soils, suitable for our crops. For instance, if we buy the fertilizers from South America, if I may put it like that, in places like Argentina and Brazil, we are likely to get the deals sorted out over a couple of months, and that could be too long for us to be able to then buy the fertilizers and make sure that they work for a Eswatini. So we are running right now as we speak because these challenges need to be sorted out quickly. And we want to make sure that we find these alternatives as soon as possible so that we don't end up with a situation whereby the country runs out of food.
Nguni, thank you so much for your time. I suppose as newsrooms across the country and certainly as a Eswatini, we are groaning in anticipation. And as you said, this is something that is urgent. We are waiting for statements or memos coming from the ministry to really see, what you have been able to get for these farmers in terms of these things that you're saying you're starting to look into in terms of interventions. Thank you so much for your time. P.S. from the Ministry of Agriculture, speaking to what measures the ministry is trying to get in terms of intervening to these global, threats into our agriculture sector. Let's go for a break. More on the program when we return. Welcome back to the program. Let's welcome Bagcinile Simelane. She's a personal banking manager with Nedbank Eswatini. Our conversation today with Bagcinile is going to be about personal loans and overdrafts. Perhaps before we get into, all the processes entailed in our topic today, let's define what personal loans are. Good afternoon.
Okay. Good afternoon, Sfiso. Good afternoon, viewers. Thank you for having us today. Okay, personal loans, this is a type of facility that you can borrow from a bank or a financial provider to cater for personal expenses or personal needs that may just arise at any certain time.
Let's talk about the process now. What is it that I need to bring? What is it when I come to inquire with you guys? What are you going to tell me? What does the process look like?
Okay, firstly, you need to make sure that, because we always encourage clients to come with their IDs when they come to the bank, so we're able to identify them. And then, but the main thing for the loans that you need to make sure that you have your payslip with you, so that we're able to calculate affordability, determined by how much your salary is. So basically, that's the main document that we need when you're coming. Yeah, it's the payslips. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, that means this is for employed persons, correct?
Yes, it's for employed persons, because we need to ensure that the repayments are going to be serviced.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what does the approval look like? Since, I've already brought all the documents that you guys require from me. I've got my ID, I've got my pay slip, and everything else, really. What does the approval process look like?
Okay, when you come into the bank with your ID and your payslip, and your sales consultant has calculated the affordability for you, and you are content with the amount that you are going to be granted, we then continue with the process. It depends on where you work, I would say, because some organizations would need a payslip and a confirmation letter, and then we have civil servants who can just come through with their payslips. So once your submission is done, the sales consultant will prepare the application and send it for evaluation or assessment, of which then they get a response on the outcome of the application and inform the client right away. And that's when the client is then now credited with the funds.
And I believe throughout that process, that's when you assess the person's credit score, and that should inform the interest rate. Yeah, what does that look like? And that's normally an uncomfortable conversation for the applicant.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think maybe we do still have some sort of limitations in Eswatini in terms of financial literacy. So you have to explain to the customer in terms of, because credit score basically guides us in terms of the client's ability to service a debt. So that does definitely influence the interest rate. The interest rate that we offer is in line with the client's credit score, as well as the condition of the market, because as financial institutions, we are regulated. So we need to ensure that the rates that we communicate to the client to apply on these facilities are actually in line with the regulated lending rate in the country of Eswatini.
I think that really, makes sense when you talk about interest rates. But I would assume that your credit score typically influences, the kind of interest rates that you are offered. Maybe if you will just, define what a credit score really is. I think that should help a potential client out there.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, a credit score is an instrument that helps us to ascertain the credit worthiness of any client. So basically, it's a record of how you are able to repay your debts wherever you may go and borrow and commit yourself.
It basically looks at your honesty to your obligation.
Exactly,
really.
exactly.
Yeah, if you were to make an example, would you look at maybe an agreement that I made with the furniture shop? Maybe they gave me something on credit. Do you look at if I really repaid that as per the obligations?
Well, there is a tool that we use that helps us ascertain if you appear on a credit bureau as someone that is not able to service their obligations. So we don't necessarily request you to now submit your other commitments so that we can be able to check on whether you're repaying that. But there's an instrument that guides us that, no, this client is servicing all their obligations well. If not, then it flags you, and then that's how we're able to pick it up.
Okay, I might as well just go and apply for a personal loan after this show. Actually, my credit score is really good, so I believe that.
You're welcome anytime.
Thank you. Let's talk about the repayment, processes. I believe that personal loans use an instrument of installments. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So when we're calculating the affordability or the client's ability to repay a loan, we do take into account of the repayments as well, because we need to ensure that the repayments don't necessarily lead the client now to be in some sort of financial crisis. So the repayment there is, we give the client a quotation which basically illustrates the funds that they're borrowing as well as the repayment over a certain tenor. And then the client is able to view that and ascertain if this installment they will be able to service it.
I have a brother, he's a lawyer, and he always likes to associate taking a loan with signing a contract at work. And he always emphasizes, if you're going to take a loan, don't be afraid to send me that document. Ask for the soft copy from the lender. Send it to me. We read every term and condition, every literal obligation that will be, pronounced on that document.
Yes.
Why is that important? Because he always talks about, fees. There may be fees that you may not really be aware of there, which are not necessarily the repayment fees, right?
Yeah,
They are different from the repayment fees. Do you have those under this particular product? And if so, let's define them.
No, I think going back to what you mentioned in terms of the document that is signed by the client, we ensure that we definitely cover all the terms and conditions and also the fee structure of that facility that you will be taking with us. So there are fees that are part of the loan, but everything is basically stipulated point by point in that agreement or in the quotation as well, because we do give you a quotation of the application that quotation of the loan that you are requiring. Yeah,
that's quite interesting. Let's talk about the credit impact. We've already spoke about credit score, but how does me taking this loan now affect my credit score? What are some of the things that I really need to, abide by and comply by to make sure that my credit score is not impacted badly?
It's just simple. You just need to stick to the obligation that you've made with the bank or financial.
Let's make a typical obligation. Let's create a case. Yeah, I've taken the loan. What is a typical obligation that could possibly put me on the bad side of things? What do you normally, go through?
Okay, I would say something that will put you on the bad side of things is if you miss a monthly repayment on your facility, of which then now that raises questions in terms of whether you are capable of servicing this facility, and that is what that's what hurts, or that's what has a negative impact on your credit score, because now you are showing that you are not able to service all your obligations as per all the commitments that you have made.
Okay, maybe if you'll allow me just to go back a little bit on you already talk about commitments. We just spoke about fees. And, I know that there's origination fees, there's late payment fees. If you will, just, define those for us. What happens for me if now I have to, pay late payment fees, and what do they look like? And origination fees.
Okay. The origination fee it's a once-off fee when you establish the facility. So that one is not affected on the loan like on a monthly basis or whatsoever. It's just a once-off fee. And then the late payment fees is now, I think on the example that I just made, if now you miss a monthly installment, that now puts your loan into what you call being in an arrears position, as
so
now
a penalty.
There's now a pending payment on your loan. So there are like some sort of penalty fees just on the missed repayment that you have made.
Yeah, but do personal loans require collateral?
Most personal loans do not require collateral. We we basically our security with a personal loan is you having a valid payslip, and if you're not a civil servant, a confirmation letter that will dictate your employment terms, of which helps us ensure that whatever terms we give you on that loan should fit the employment details that are stated on the confirmation letter.
What are some of the purposes that a personal loan can be used for? And I believe now we are speaking directly to a client. You know, people are going through some financial difficulties, and I know that a lot of people are in need of loans, secure loans, that is, you know, particularly loans that come from, you know, verified banking institutions. And I believe this one particular one from Nedbank is one that they can trust. What are some of the purposes that, you know, they could be going through right now and would say, I need a personal loan?
Yeah, it's quite a lot. You can use a loan to attend to maybe home renovations if that's what your aim is, because for the year. You can also be able to pay a school. You can borrow money to pay for school fees. You can also borrow money to attend to any emergencies that just may arise out of the blue. Also, we can assist in terms of maybe consolidating if you had different loans and different financial institutions, we can assist you consolidate that loan, and now you have one repayment. So yeah, it's quite a lot, honestly.
But Kunele, thank you for joining us on the program today. Maybe before I let you go, I'll give you an opportunity to look straight into that camera and talk to the viewer. Tell them where they can find you on social media and how they can contact you if you have a phone number.
Okay. We do have 12 physical branches in the country that you can visit whenever you need assistance from the bank. Our number that you can call us on is 2378-1999, or you can email us at helpdesk@nedbank.co.za. You can also find us on our social media pages, on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn at Nedbank Eswatini.
Twitter, by the way, formerly known as Twitter, is now called X. So they can find you guys at Nedbank Eswatini. So go ahead and do that. Inquire every information that you may need. But essentially, I think we covered pretty much everything that you personally need to bring if you want to get a personal loan with Nedbank Eswatini. The biggest thing is your payslip, but you do need your national identity card as well. I think those are the two most important documents that you may need to bring when you want to get a personal loan from Nedbank. Otherwise, from myself, let's go for a net break. We'll continue with the show after the program, after the break, sorry.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. And now for our final segment, Sandiswa Dlamini from Nedbank joins us for our market analysis. A very good afternoon, Gozi. Thank you for coming through today. We are certainly feeling the impact of the global crisis. We are seeing fuel increase. There's queues at filling stations countrywide. What happens if the situation persists, Sandiswa? And are there any positive news that we can look forward to in the coming weeks?
Thank you, Lulu. Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to your viewers. Fortunately, today we have a bit of good news from the U.S., where President Donald Trump, on a statement yesterday, talked about the escalation on the Middle East war. But this, we are still going to see if this materializes, because there is a speech he's supposed to give later today. I think that's where we are going to get clarity. And in the aspect of fuel, the prices of oil today have dropped quite significantly. Not too much, but from 132 yesterday, they are now at 115. So seeing that adjustment is a reaction to the sentiments from Donald Trump. And we have also seen reactions from Iran saying that they are also willing to engage in talks, especially about this war and de-escalation. But at the moment, we are still skeptical, and the markets are watching the situation closely and trying to gauge where this might land. Of course, there are possibilities that the war can extend for longer periods. As you might have seen yesterday, the Minister of Finance from South Africa was talking about the oil impacts in the prices in South Africa, and for their side, they have decided to cut down on the levies. Also, they have cut them by 3 rand, which is half, to sort of try to cushion the customer or the consumer from the increase in oil prices. But we are yet to see what that leads to, because even for the oil supply, there's still a lot of, I would say, strain from the supply on that side, because we, as you have mentioned, we are seeing queues in filling stations signaling that the supply of oil is currently low. And this is a global issue. Globally, the supply have been strained, and we are seeing the increase in prices all over. But we hope that this will be resolved soon.
Yeah, so then we shall wait for President Donald Trump's speech then, hoping for some good news. All right, quickly, let's just go through today's numbers. We have 4 minutes before we conclude our program today.
Yes, so in terms of our FX...
Oh, yeah, starting off with commodities. What's happening with that today?
Fortunately, we have the effects filtering through all our assets. In commodities, we have seen the price of Brent crude dropping, while the price of gold is rising at the moment. This, as much as gold is still persistent and still the preferential asset in terms of as a safe haven, but over the past few weeks, what we have noted is that the price of gold dropped, even though the war was still going on. But this is not necessarily to say gold has lost that value in terms of being a safe haven, but it has to do with the fact that the war has made the market suspect that interest rates are going to rise in the near future. So we have seen in the past few weeks, central banks have been holding interest rates steady. So if the effects of the war continue, we expect interest rates to rise. So most investors are moving their assets from gold to interest-bearing assets. So that's the effect that we are seeing there. In terms of Brent crude, we have seen that decline from 132 yesterday to 115, and this is a reaction to Donald Trump's news yesterday. We are probably going to see more of this effect depending on the speech that he's going to deliver today, but we hope that's going to be a positive one for these prices to continue dropping.
All right, so moving on to equities.
So on the equities side, we have seen an increase. This is also just, it drives back to the speech from yesterday, because what the investors are now seeing is that they have taken those news from Donald Trump as a positive signal, meaning that the de-escalation is possible. So they are now moving their assets to more risky assets, moving them from gold or US dollars to put them into equities. That's why we have seen the jump in equities across the S&P 500, the FTSE, and the JSE Alger. So if you compare these prices from the beginning of the year, they have dropped, and the effect is specifically the war at this point. But we have seen this bounce today because of the positive news coming from the US.
Okay, just lastly, let's go over our currencies today in under a minute.
Yes. For currencies, we have seen also an appreciation of the rand across all three, and this is because after the news, the US dollar it has a similar effect as gold in terms of having a safe haven capability. So we have seen investors move their money from US dollars to rands, and because South Africa is also a lucrative emerging economy, so investors are still interested in South Africa, in the South African rand. We have seen this across all three currencies, which is good news for South Africa, and it shows the strength of the rand. But looking forward, we were expecting the trading range for today to be between 16.75 to 17.25. So we are still at the lower end at this point, but we are still watching these rates closely to monitor if there are any opportunities especially for local clients.
All right, thank you, Sandeep Saw, for that analysis today. We've come to the end of our program. This was the final segment of Nedbank Business Watch. Thank you for tuning in. Join us again next week, Wednesday at exactly 2 p.m. But if you've just tuned in, worry not, you can still watch this episode on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV. We'll see you next week, Wednesday. Have a lovely day.
Digital helps you make cross-border payments. Human gives you global specialists. Digital allows you to apply for a loan anytime, anywhere. Human connects you to credit experts. Digital puts you in control of your money, while Human connects you to wealth advisors. Digital allows you to freeze, unfreeze, cancel, and reorder your card. Human gives you that personal touch. Digital when you want it. Human when you need it. Get the complete private banking experience with Nedbank Private Clients.
Make better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously.